And I think the key plans at the moment is planning around how you're going to increase or maintain your levels of revenue in the coming months.
Welcome to the Business Behind Your Business, conversations to help your business grow and thrive. Hi, I'm Paul Sweeney, founder of Pretium Solutions, Chartered Accountants and Certified Business Advisors, hosting the Business Behind Your Business. Welcome to the Business Behind Your Business. In this episode, we're grateful to be able to share with you an interview from a live 90.5's Grow the Business People edition. I'm talking with a live 95.5 hosts Paul Cripps and Kylie Thomas about 4 key areas to managing your business through and beyond the current crisis.
And now it's time for our special guest this evening, Paul Sweeney from Pretium Solutions. Paul is the managing director of Pretium Solutions, and Paul has a deep experience in accounting, but also someone that likes to think about how the businesses can perform the best. So he takes it a lot further than the numbers. So good evening, Paul. Welcome to Grow the Business. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Paul. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. And look, we went up, I think, probably it must be a couple of years ago now, and we've talked about a number of things, and you've got some exciting things going on at the moment. And I think that where we wanted to really start, I always like to say that you're much more than an accountant. You're very much also a certified business advisor as well. So do you want to talk through, I guess, first of all, what you see as being the 4 real key areas to successfully managing a business, I guess, not just during the current situation, but always as well?
Yeah, certainly. So there's 4 key areas, and they're pretty critical at this time because we're focusing on how we get through the unique situation we're in. But they're really 4 key areas that every business always, and they come down to managing your cash flow, planning your business, what you're going to be doing, what you're trying to achieve, how you manage your taxation, and using the skill set of your advisors, your team of advisors, to help you create a high-performing business that's going to succeed and thrive in any condition. And that's what we get excited about. The numbers are important, but they are the base upon which we build everything else.
Fantastic, excellent. Thank you, Paul. Look, what we'll do now, if that's all right, we'll start to unpack a few of those and go to those in a few more details. One of the things I forgot to do just now as well, if we've got any questions to come through from listeners, don't forget our text line, which is 0480 028 100. I'm not too sure. I told you, Paul, whether you might get some text questions, but you never know. You might get a few of those. I know you're someone that you're a bit like me as well. You react very well on the bounce. So if they come through, we'll read them out. But perhaps if you don't mind, first of all, Paul, we'll start perhaps with the cash flow management in terms of, I guess we all know it's critical. But what are some of the key things you find that sometimes that is obvious to people in the know, but some of the things that in terms of cash flow that people slip up on?
Look, I think one of the key things is that you have to know what your cash position is at any point in time. And these days there are so many tools available. So we've got our online banking, we've got our online accounting systems. So we should be able to know at any point in time what our exact cash position is in terms of how much money we have in the bank, what we owe. But we should also know what's going out. So what's coming in, what's going out, and planning for that. And a lot of the time where businesses get into trouble is when they're not watching that. They don't know exactly where they are at, or they don't know what's coming in. And,
I saw Kylie smile.
Yes, I would probably be one of those. Paul, do you think it's because of nervousness, ignorance? What do you think actually drives that? Because obviously in our own personal finances, generally we're right on top of it. But then when it comes to our business, maybe not so much. So what do you think's driving that?
Look, I think the thing is, in business, you're responsible for so many different things. And as a business owner, you're focusing on your main thing. So for me, it's accounting, so numbers come naturally. But for somebody who's, say, a plumber, electrician, or IT person, the numbers, the cash flow, or the accounting numbers are not the natural thing. They're concentrating on the business and getting the sales, getting the invoice out, but not focusing on what the cash flow position is or what the numbers actually mean. So I think it's fairly normal. There is just so much to look after as a business owner, and that is one thing that slips through a lot of the time.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, it's but it's key, though, isn't it? Because without and how many times have I heard, without good cash flow, a business can't survive, can it really?
And look, if you don't stay on top of it, you're not going to have the information available. So there's a lot of talk at the moment about getting funding assistance from government and banks, but access to those that funding, those assistance measures, a lot of it is dependent upon you supplying or knowing the numbers that are for your business, the key numbers around cash, around turnover, and you should be able to get that from your accounting records virtually straight away. A lot of it is automated these days. You still need to manage what's going into each bucket, but it is becoming easier and easier to do that day-to-day accounting and bookkeeping work.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's a number of tools that help with that as well, aren't there?
And I think that also comes into your next point, Paul, that you wanted to mention about planning, right? So obviously you need to get that finance, that cash flow management, but then, then the element of planning that goes with that, and then obviously planning for your business as well. They go hand in hand, I'm assuming you would say?
Oh, absolutely. But I think we complicate the planning process too much. In very simple terms, a plan is what are you going to do, what's the outcome, and how are you going to do it. We overcomplicate it, and that's why we don't firstly make a plan, and the second thing, and possibly more important, is implement the plan.
Yes.
And I think the key plans at the moment is planning around how you're going to increase or maintain your levels of revenue in the coming months. So a lot of the time we focus on the immediate revenue that's coming up, or doing the work that we've agreed to do, but we're not focusing beyond that period. And it's called your sales pipeline or your funnel. We need to make sure that we're constantly feeding that funnel of new work or potential work, so that when we get to 3 or 6 months down the track, we actually have work, sales coming in. Otherwise, we're not going to have any cash flow at a future point in time.
Absolutely, and I think that, and as you say, that's very much the case. And I think that that's something which obviously always applies. And I guess it's even more critical now than it's ever been. But it should be a habit that should be there all the time, though, Paul, shouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You need to know your numbers. You need to know what sales you've got, what opportunities you've got, and even just contacting your previous customers, your previous clients, and communicating with them, letting them know what you're able to do. So open those channels of communication, because if you're not contacting them, they're not going to become a repeat customer. So you need to keep feeding that funnel, keep communicating with your customers, both present and past customers, to make sure that you generate future sales.
Absolutely. Great advice. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks again to Paul Cripps and Kylie Thomas. You can listen to Grow the Business People Edition Thursday evenings, 6 p.m. on Alive 90.5.
Welcome back, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Kylie.
And we're taking off from before the break. We were just talking about some of the key aspects that you were talking through there, but we sort of stopped just before the taxation side of things. So talk us through some of the things that you think businesses should be being really mindful of in terms of their tax, and then obviously that really key point about having really skilled and qualified advisors around you to be making those sound decisions.
Yeah, well, tax gets some people excited. I'm not one person that gets excited by it.
Now Alice is going to be delighted to hear that.
Look, I think the key thing is in any situation is keeping on top of your tax obligations and making sure you lodge on time, that you are able to pay, and if you're not able to make the required payments, that you communicate with the ATO in a timely manner. But get your activity statements lodged on time, because if you are applying for finance, it's important to have those up to date. They will take a note of those things. But the other thing, and look, tax is important to plan for. Set aside amounts to pay it. Keep it in a separate account or manage it, but don't ignore it. I think that's a thing that causes a lot of businesses to get unstuck, is that they ignore the taxation, particularly newer businesses and growing businesses really run into trouble with managing tax. But particularly at this time, I'd encourage people to lodge earlier than they normally would, because a lot of businesses with reduced revenue and reduced profits, it's likely to be reduced tax, and you may have overpaid your instalments during the year. So it'd be good to get them in early. But yeah, what gets me excited though is more about actually advising clients, or advising business owners about how to grow their business and create a high-performing business. And to do that, you can't do that in isolation. So what I find is that I'm a very good accountant. I'd like to say that myself. But I'm not a HR person. I'm not a business lawyer. I'm not an IT person. I'm not a salesperson. And when you're making a decision as a business owner, you need to have consistent advice, all on the same path. So what we find is that you often get advice from the accountant, and then you go and see the solicitor, but the two pieces of advice are not connected, not on the same direction. So you get this disjointed advice, and that's not a good outcome.
And I think the thing is, the key thing, I think, as you understand, Paul, as well, it's, you're right, it's about having that advice from the right people at the right time. And I guess one of the problems, with smaller businesses is that they feel that, well, sometimes it's a case of they don't know what they don't know. And they just, they might sometimes perhaps rely on one person thinking they get all the answers, where, that wouldn't be the case if they're a bigger business getting advice from a number of different places. But this basically this kind of help is available to smaller businesses as well, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the big business have that team of experts in their company. They have the different departments, whereas a small business owner doesn't have that. Coming back to the point I made earlier, that as a small business owner, you are everything. You are the HR department, you are the accounts receivable, the sales department, inventory management. You're all of those things. So you need to get access to the right kind of advice from the right people. And this is where a lot of small businesses are at a disadvantage. So one of the things we're trying to do is remove that disadvantage for small business owners, small medium business owners, give them access to effectively that board of advice, that team of experts that gives them consistent advice in line with their strategy, working together to get the best outcomes for them. And look, I think we need to give more power back to small and medium business owners, because we are able to do so much. Absolutely. But let's make it more effective.
Absolutely. And there are plenty of them, and we know the economy thrives on them, and it's about making sure that they, as always, but particularly now, they're making sure they survive with the right advice at the right time in the current environment as well.
Yeah, and look, I think a lot of people are fearful of getting advice because of the cost, and the cost of getting the wrong advice from the wrong area sort of scars people. And once they've done that once, they're more hesitant to go and get advice.
Absolutely right.
So they'll turn to the internet, and what you see on the internet is not always applicable to your situation.
No, it's a little bit like the Dr. Google situation as well, isn't it? That's not always the best way to get the information.
Yeah, that's right. And like, I can read about how to build something on the internet, but you just don't want me building something for you. No, I'm not going to go and do that.
Well,
and it's the same with a lot of the things. We self-diagnose, and we don't have the skills to implement or to actually understand what we're doing, and there's a danger in doing that. So it's crucial for small business to get advice from the right people.
Fantastic. Well, look, Paul, I think it's fair to say you speak the same language as me and Kylie. It's music to our ears to hear somebody that feels the same way around getting the right panel of experts around them. So thank you so much for your time this evening, Paul. Thank you very much for joining us, and great to have with us. And look, hopefully we can get to talk to you again another time soon.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for listening. Do you have a question you'd like our team of experts to answer? If you do, send your question to podcast@thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. To hear more from the business behind your business, don't forget to subscribe using your favourite podcast player. Or you can visit the businessbehindyourbusiness.com website.